This is going to make more sense to you in a little while. Let me now introduce you to the sources and uses of funds accounts, which we have up here. Has anyone ever heard of the flow of funds accounts? No one. No one. They're real accounts, okay, and the Fed gathers them, and actually people in, particularly financial advisors, pay a lot of attention to them because they're the source of much of the information we have about financial flows. Let me start with, though, the microeconomics of it. Okay? We want to distinguish between uses and sources. And we want to distinguish between the goods and services account, which I sometimes will call above the line, okay, and the financial account, which is below the line. Okay. And there are three different categories that I'm going to distinguish in the financial account. There's financial assets, financial liabilities, we're going to treat these separately, and money. Okay? So you can see that we're distinguishing here between money and credit. So there's this sort of hierarchy of money and credit that is going on here, and the ultimate payment is going to be money here. These are not T accounts because these are not balance sheets. These are not stocks. Everything here is a flow. Okay? So when we have as a source of funds, okay, when we sell something, that's a cash inflow. It's a source of funds. Okay? So we put here a receipt. When we sell something, we receive, and these are goods, right? Real goods. So, and including, by the way, labor. So when you sell labor, you're getting a wage. So that's a receipt. That's a cash inflow. And when you buy something, it's an expenditure. We're used to the NEPA accounts, the National Income and Product accounts, which focus on final sales only, value added. In flow of funds, we don't particularly care whether something is a final sale or not. If it's a sale, it's an inflow. Okay, it's a source of cash for the individual. It may not be a source of value for the economy as a whole, but it's a good or a service or labor. If we sell a financial asset, okay, that's a source of funds too. So if you have a stock and you sell it, okay, that's cash coming into you. We'll call that decumulation, just to match accumulation if you buy a stock. Okay. And financial liabilities. If you are, as a source of funds, if you borrow money, right, the bank gives you money. Okay, that's a cash inflow. So borrowing is a source of funds, and repayment is a use of funds, repayment of debts. Okay, and money. Okay, if we have a pile of money, if we take something off that pile, that could be that's a source of funds. So this is dishoarding, and this is hoarding here. Okay. This is a set of, it's a conceptual decumulation. Did I spell that right? Yes. This is a conceptual framework, and it's completely inclusive. Every transaction is going to fit into one or the other of these categories. It's meant to be inclusive. It's not leaving anything out. Okay, it's either and it will. So you can use this. The value of this framework is that you can use this to sort your way through pretty complicated kinds of transactions. Okay, and the rules that order how you sort your way through this, okay, are two rules. Rule one. all accounting is based on some rules of consistency. Okay? And rule one is that every use has a corresponding source and vice versa. Every use has a corresponding source and vice versa. That is to say, you can't buy a good, okay, you can't buy a financial asset, you can't repay debt, you can't accumulate cash balances without it coming from somewhere. That's all it's saying. Okay? And if it's coming from somewhere, it has to go somewhere. So that's the vice versa part. Okay? So that's all it's saying. The other rule, which is what allows us to turn this into macroeconomics, okay, is that every agent's use is some other agent's source, and vice versa. Every agent's use is some other agent's source. This is actually kind of deep, okay? That the economy as a whole, every time I get a receipt, it's somebody else's expenditure, right? I'm selling a good, somebody's buying a good. So that's the sense in which my source is somebody else's use. If I'm buying a financial asset, I'm buying it from somebody, they're selling it. And so you see how that all works. And once you appreciate this, you start to see the economy as this web of where, depending on whether you're looking from my point of view or your point of view, everything is connected, and you can follow it all along.